You are listening to the Hello Sport Podcast.
What's up, punters and dribblers? Welcome back to another episode of All Talk. It's Tom and Eddie from the Hello Sport Podcast. This week, we are speaking to the current reigning, defending, undisputed middleweight champion of the world in the UFC, that is.
I would have liked to have heard a Bruce Buffer voice.
Yeah, dude, I didn't have it in me, to be honest. Like, you think about these things.
Yes, you do.
You think about it,
Yep.
and you consider it,
Yep.
and you go, am I that guy? Am I that performative that I'm going to go full Bruce?
I would have loved to see it.
I know,
but
but
I
then-
can see why you judged it and you thought
There's a
too
world
much.
where, like, some people can do that extrovert sort of shit and it pays off.
Like a Jack Archstone.
Yeah, but then, like, if you don't absolutely nail it and you basically bare your soul on the altar of, like, am I going to do a Bruce Buffer at the start of this podcast, and it falls flat, dude, like, you may as well leave the building.
There's only one way to do a Bruce as well, and it is like redlining.
You need to be redlining.
You can't do a half Bruce.
No, you got to stand
or a
up.
quarter Bruce.
You need a mic in hand, and you'd have to go hard.
You need
quarter
to go,
Bruce is fucked.
No, you need 110, 120, maybe even 130%, you know? Big
That's
numbers.
Right. So I'm glad I didn't do it. I thought about it. It crossed my mind. I'm glad I didn't do it. We're talking Dricus Du Plessis.
Yeah.
That's who we're talking to. The UFC were kind enough to give us some time with Dricus at the UFC gym in Sydney.
And we loved it.
Yeah, it was good.
What a lovely man.
What a really nice man. A nice young man. We are older than Dricus. He felt like he was
when he
older
said
than
he was
us.
30, I was like,
Yeah, it made me sick.
it was a kick in the nuts.
Yeah, it was.
He didn't know that it was, but it was to me. As soon
Or
as
if we can use the fighting parlance, it was a liver shot.
it was a serious liver shot, dropped me, couldn't get back up, and I was ruled out of the fight, punters and dribblers. Just good to get the measure of a man, because I see...
Size him up.
I see middleweights, which is like 85 kilos, just, maybe a couple of grams short of that, Tom, which is what I walk around at. And I just go, where would I be?
You'd be welterweight, maybe even a lightweight.
Well, having met him, I now know I must cut.
Yeah, you'd have to cut one.
I would have to cut.
Yeah.
Because he's a presence.
To be honest, given how fucking, ripe for the shaping I am, I reckon I could cut to middleweight.
You could cut to middleweight.
I think I've got some things to cut. You could cut me to middleweight if you wanted to.
There's things to cut. Cut the hips off.
Well, you'd cut, that'd be the first thing to go, I think. You'd cut them just
Cutting
off.
hips, bang. You're
I
there.
think you might actually literally cut those off.
Cutting hips, bang.
Yeah, there you go. Now, we're talking to Dricus, who we did size up,
Yep.
ahead of UFC 305 in Perth, RAC Arena,
Yes.
RAC Arena, August 18th.
Correct.
We will be there. Now, important to note, tickets have just gone on sale. We haven't got tickets yet. Now, I don't know if anyone from the UFC is hearing this, right? Because they may not. But obviously, I think, hopefully this just goes into their brain like subconsciously, like, we haven't bought tickets yet.
Yep. And maybe it'd be a nice thing to look after our new friends Tom and Eddie.
We're just saying we haven't bought them yet, and obviously we
we love gifts.
floor seats.
We love gifts. We love sitting.
Never sat ringside at a UFC before.
Not at the UFC. Not at the
I
UFC.
definitely have at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre for Galen Krastevsky 1.
And Cambosa, surrounded by bikies.
Correct.
A very unique experience that I will
Haney,
take with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
What we're saying is, if we
don't
don't
have
have to,
tickets.
you don't
We're
have
just
to
saying we don't
do
have
it.
tickets.
We don't have tickets. We'd love to sit ringside. Sure, it's your words, not mine.
Yeah. That's all we're saying. That's all it is. Shout out to the UFC. Great people, great organisation.
Great people.
Phenomenal people.
Great people.
Now, the card, Eddie, just before we get it. So he's fighting Israel Adesanya. I should probably say that first. Former middleweight champion, a legend of the sport. He's an all-time great, Israel.
Knocked out Pereira, which was fucking unbelievable.
Well,
then lost to Strickland.
Shawnee Strix.
We were at that fight.
We were. Now, that's obviously the headline event there. That is a serious mamma jammer for the title. But then in the co-main, you've got Kai Kara France, another Kiwi, Steve Erceg. Now, Steve Erceg, if you don't know him, he's an up-and-comer. He just fought for the title recently, like 3 fights in his career. You could argue he won it, or you could argue if he had some different information from the people that were, telling him what's what, that if he'd played the fifth round a little different, and I'm just parroting from experts here, that things could have been different for Steve Erceg, but that's a horny fight. And then Bam Bam Tuivasa against Jairzinho Rosenstrike, that's knockout shit.
Love that. Just big boys throwing.
Throwing.
I'd like to see Bam Bam win again.
I'd love to see
I'd love to see him win again. There's a KO coming.
Yeah.
100%.
There has to be.
Stack card, UFC just delivering in spades for the people of Australia. So enjoy the interview.
We're like a day after one of the more fearsome stare downs that we've seen between yourself and Izzy. Well, and it was sort of off the back of the Pereira Yuri, where they pre-fight stood there for like 5 fucking minutes and were staring each other down. What's a stare down like in that instance? Does it take a while for you to like calm down after something like that? When you get off the stage, are you wired and sort of filled with adrenaline?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I guess it's different for everyone. Some people don't get the stare down doesn't. Some people even don't like the stare downs. For me, when I do a stare down, that's basically me telling you with my energy and with my eyes that it's about to go down. I match that energy when I fight.
Yeah.
It's the same energy I get from that stare down. And 100% after a stare down like that, I'm just ready to go.
Why?
When do you know you're in a stare down? Like after sort of 3 seconds, you might be this is just run of the mill stare down stuff. When does it start to click in your mind that you're on for a long?
We're in the throes of a stare down.
Yeah, like a stare down of substance.
Yeah, I guess. It's a good question because, a stare down is a stare down. I always approach a stare down the same. I'm there to win that stare down.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Well, then you get situations like yesterday where, after like maybe 3 minutes, you realize I'm in a stare down.
Have you ever lost a stare down?
No.
I've
never lost a stare down.
And that's what was funny. So
no, I'm not losing a stare down.
Pete, who's in between you, we know Pete from the UFC, and we were like, holy fuck, Pete's trying to get these two guys to stop staring down. And then he's getting his hand through, he's like, righto, boys. Stare down. Yeah, righto, boys. And then he's like sliding in between. And we were like, holy shit, this might be the hardest job on planet Earth, separating these two bulls.
When he was slid in between you, that was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Wait, are you aware he's there?
Well, that's what I was about to say. When I saw the video afterwards, and when I watched the video, I thought that was such a long stare down. And I saw him in between us, and I didn't even realize he was there at all. I didn't.
You're not even.
I didn't hear him. I didn't see him. It was as if he was never in the picture in that moment, and it didn't feel that long. And when you watch it on social media, I thought, is this video like replaying the whole time?
Yeah, what the hell's going on here?
It's looped, yeah. Well, that's what it takes to be great at stare downs.
Well, that's it. I don't have stare down in me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Is there any level of like humor in it? Or are you just when like the staring competitions like don't laugh? Like is there any element where you're like, when you realise you're in a stare down of note, as we've just addressed?
I think some guys approach it that way. Some guys, everybody deals with this in a different way.
Yeah.
Some guys don't like to do a stare down; they just look away. And but for me, there's no humor in what happens there. When we it can be humor before, after, during the presser. Once I get into that zone where we got for any stare down, there's no humor in that. That's when things get serious. That's when that's part of the fight, right there, winning that exchange.
What did you see in his eyes yesterday?
Well, the big thing was, and it's almost a theme for me in this whole fight, is seeing that Israel Adesanya, and he knows it and the world knows it, he has done great things in the sport. But when it comes to as big as he's going to get, has been as big as he's going to get in the sport. And when it comes to the title defenses, the winning streaks, that will never come again because he doesn't have the time. So I think his biggest achievement for him personally was beating Alex Pereira. He had this nemesis who's beaten him multiple times, and after that fight, he was ready to call it quits. And that's what I saw in his eyes as well. Trying to convince me, but more so trying to convince himself that he still wants to do this and that he still has what it takes to be the best fighter in the world. And as soon as you're asking yourself that question, you're in a dark place.
Yeah, do you think because he's obviously, he was speaking about taking time off, it's the longest period of time he's had off since he's started fighting. And as you say, like, and as you know, you hear Dana say it all the time, like, if you're even thinking about retiring, it's probably time to retire. Not that Izzy's necessarily doing that, but the fact he needed such a large amount of time off. Do you see things like that and, I guess, see an advantage in that? Because you're 31, right? Like,
I just turned 30 in Jan.
You just turned 30?
Yeah.
There you go.
And, the time off is not that concerning. When I had my debut fight in the UFC, it was during COVID, and South Africa was locked down pretty bad. So I had my debut fight, and then I wasn't allowed to leave the country or get a visa for any other country for 10 months. They had another fight, and we were locked down again for another whole year. So I had my first fight, I had to take off 10 months from fighting. I had my second fight and didn't fight for a whole year. So the time off is not necessarily the problem. You know, it can be good, it can be bad, depending on how you approach it. But it's getting back into it. The mental aspect of that is much more important than the physical aspect. You know, sometimes a break like that, physically, you know, we put our bodies through the worst situations, and a little bit of rest is good. But when you get tired of resting, that's when you know you still got it. When you're not getting, when you don't get tired of that rest period,
That's where
when you get that
in our
comfortability,
life.
I think that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah,
I think that's it. And now, you know, I keep a close eye, and him saying he's at peace. You know, his family is sorted. He has his properties. He has financially. He's in a, you know, he's going to be fine. His kids are going to be fine. His parents, everybody, his family is fine. That's amazing. And he said it. You know, he's done it all. He's won all the belts. He has a few belts, and when you get to that position where you are so comfortable, where he said he's at peace, he's happy with what he has, it's a dangerous place to be at, because this sport is chaos, and chaos is the exact opposite of peace.
Yeah.
And if you're at peace and you get into the octagon with me, it's going to be a problem, because I bring chaos. That's
what you do. Do you maintain a level of, like, obviously you see fighters, you see when they're going through the promotional ad, and there's like obviously heightened emotions in the fight, heightened emotions. Then afterwards, often it's all very cool and like cordial. How do you just generally, given the chaos of the job you do, go from a normal everyday Dricus to then like you've got to fucking, like, you've got to sort of fire up and be aggressive? Obviously there's like specifics in the fight when, like, it makes sense in a fight circumstance when you got to do it, but just in your day-to-day life, do you feel that energy and that intensity of being a fighter, or are you able just to disconnect from it completely?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's a very good point, because I think that can make or break any athlete. You know, if you look at whether you're playing rugby, whether you're playing, where you're an athlete, just, you know, a sprinter, if you're a UFC fighter, at the end of the day, you need to be able to switch on and switch off. And I think a lot of fighters and athletes struggle to switch on, but a lot less struggle to switch on than to switch off. Because, you know, when you get to a situation where you can't switch off, I've struggled with that earlier in my career. I just couldn't switch off. It was, and I'm not talking about this, you know, this angry, aggressive guy. Not that at all. Just the intensity. You know, not really enjoying anything other than training, fighting, eating, sleeping, and that's not healthy. And when you're obsessed with something, I'm obsessed with the sport. But there's a balance in life that you still need to maintain. And that balance has been the key to my success.
What do you do for balance? Like, do you
get away? You know, going and after a fight, you know, party.
Oh, you like to party?
Yeah, have a good time. You know, make it worth it. Spend time with my family. You know, that's the things. You know, when I'm in fight camp, I don't party.
Yeah.
But I spend time with family. Or, you know, I generally don't go out because, you know, if I'm not in that party mood, I don't go to the party because I'm only bringing the whole vibe down. So I just don't go out.
Have you got any weird hobbies?
Yeah, I race cars.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm an adrenaline junkie I guess if you do the sport. So,
Shocking.
yeah, can you believe it? You know, I ride bikes, dirt bikes.
What sort of cars are you driving? Like,
well, you know, like the oval racing. I
Yeah.
had my first race earlier this year, and I'm busy building a car. Well, I'm not building it
shit.
myself. I don't know anything about a car.
well, that's a
I
lie
can
then.
drive
You're not
it.
building a goddamn
Yeah,
thing.
somebody is building a car, and I'm driving this car. But yeah, I mean, I have a massive passion for motorsports. I used to play a lot of rugby. That was amazing, but I had to let that one go.
What position?
Flanker.
I was a flanker as well.
Yeah.
Hey,
Flanker brothers.
A couple of flankers here.
Once you get, because you can break a finger in rugby and it's nothing. You just tape it together and there you go. But breaking a finger in a fight, like if you break your finger on a rugby field and you have to train with that, that becomes hard.
Yeah.
You South Africa rugby, obviously flying at the moment, back-to-back world champions.
At the moment for 8 years.
Yeah. What do you feel sorry for Australia? What's the honest truth?
Yeah, do you even see us as like a competitive entity
I haven't
anymore?
thought about that in many years.
Fuck, it hurts.
Okay,
yeah, that hurts. We named our side yesterday. Did you see it?
No.
Well, actually, the Saturday before you fight in Perth, Australia take on the Springboks.
Oof.
So
that's going to be massive.
it's going to be a bad omen if Australia gets the win over you.
Yeah, I guess so. The last time that happened, you played. It's funny enough, and you can make the connection whichever way you want to. The Saturday, you guys played at Loftus in Pretoria, my hometown.
Yep.
Against the Springboks, and that Sunday morning I fought Robert Whittaker.
Okay.
That was a bad weekend.
So we blame the Wallabies for everything. I'm happy to put it on them as well. Yeah. Well, listen, I don't think you got too much to worry about.
No, I wouldn't expect so.
August 17th or whatever it is, and we take them on.
It's whether or not we can score a try is probably the
Guys,
concern.
I can be bantering the Wallabies. You can't be sitting here and bantering the Wallabies. You have to back your boys.
Honestly, though, it's gotten to a point now, Dricus, in Australia where they aren't even a tier 1 sport. It's actually, and we were discussing this before in terms of
genuinely sad.
Dude, it is.
Mate, it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. I'm not going to come here and sugarcoat it anymore.
No, we can't.
Things are bad.
Well, I'm sorry, guys.
And I think Hope's left the building.
No, Hope left long ago.
Hope left long ago.
The cricket's not bad.
No, cricket's good.
Yeah,
cricket's
listen,
good.
we
You
dominate
guys
the
aren't
cricket.
very good at cricket. Are you a cricket fan as well?
Were you in the final in the T20s? Because we were.
But you've never won a final, though. That's
Yeah,
the
when
problem.
was the last?
When we played in the final last weekend.
But you lost
You
it.
lost it.
Yeah, I understand. Where were you?
Well,
But if you don't win it, we
we
all
just
lost.
won the one day.
that is.
We just won the one day World Cup. We won the Test Championship.
Come
We're
on.
fucking. You can't
Yeah,
cricket.
yeah,
You can't
that's
come at us about cricket. Rugby, we're screwed.
Are you tight with the rugby boys? I think Tom was
Yeah.
mentioning before that
Yeah, I've
you
quite a few
FaceTimed them
things.
before after some wins.
Yeah. I've been because it just happened to be. I went to the Rugby World Cup in France.
Yep.
And I watched the final. It was probably
Sick.
one of the
Hectic.
coolest experiences
Yeah.
ever. And I have quite a few friends in the team, and because they won the World Cup, and shortly after that I became world champion, and we just aligned. I went to go see them off at the airport before they went and spent some time with Captain Siak.
Yeah.
Took some inspiration from that, and it's amazing to be around those people because we have such a similar mentality. You can call it cultural, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The way the Springboks approach their rugby games, the big moments, and the way I see, the way I want to approach, my fights and these big moments, and we've kind of aligned ourselves with each other, and it's amazing to feed off those guys' energy, and feeding off that. Obviously you can only imagine what it means to be just considered in the same tier as Springboks Rugby.
Well, that's what I was thinking about, how, growing up in South Africa and looking up to the Springboks, or just anyone from a South African sporting landscape that contributes to national pride, you know what I mean? And then finding yourself ultimately as a part of that, as becoming one of those people that South Africans look up to and sort of see in this collective South African sort of greatness in sport. What is that feeling like? Do you ever think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, and I actually realized that growing up in South Africa, you look at the Springboks and you go, these guys are superheroes to every kid in South Africa, and to every adult, quite frankly as well. You see my dad, or I'm talking about 90% of South African dads, in front of a TV, or men, in front of a TV while the Springboks play. It's something to behold. It's really crazy. It's an intense scene.
Yeah.
And looking at these guys as superheroes, which they are, and then being considered as one of the people to contribute to the pride of the nation. It's a pretty amazing feling. When I realized people are looking up to me in that same way in South Africa, it is a lot of pressure, but it's the greatest feeling on earth, to know that you have done your nation proud. And obviously the pressure that comes with that is something completely different to deal with. But I believe that pressure makes me better every single time.
Punters and Dribblers, we are brought to you by Good Day Daily Multivitamins, the number one multivitamin, arguably, inarguably. If you like us and sometimes you find the what should I be doing for my health business a little bit fucking confusing, 50,000 different options there on the shelves, then look no further. Good Day is a wonderful daily multivitamin that can help you in a multitude of areas, whether that be your mental clarity and cognition, your general immunity, liver health. There's no shortage of benefits, and it simplifies that element of your life. So get around your good days but go to begoodhealth.com.au first, see if you're going to buy it. But listen to this review from Edward Simpson.
I just thought this was a ripper review, Tom. Came in 6 days the other day.
Where do you see the reviews?
Begoodhealth.com.au on the product page.
Okay, great.
There's like over 350 there now, I think. All 5 stars, literally. Life-changing. I got some for my partner who's been taking a heavy dose of prescription meds for her mental health since she was young. It's the first time in 14 years I've seen her stay up for the whole day with a lot of energy, no anxiety, and happy. After all the time and money spent at the psychiatrist, Good Day is the only thing that has ever worked. Keep it up, boys. Love everything you're doing.
I mean, it's pretty good. Now, don't take that as medical advice to stop taking your prescription medications for mental health, but obviously it's a lovely review that speaks to
I just thought it was a nice
It's a great review.
It speaks to their experience.
Yes. It's nice to hear that when you're a vitamin
I just thought that was a nice.
Listen,
I just thought that was a nice review.
When you're a vitamin baron that spent years trying to fucking cultivate a multivitamin that's going to work for the people, and then you hear that, you can't help but feel positive butterflies in your belly.
You can't help but read it out.
Yep.
I think it's a beautiful review.
begoodhealth.com.au. How have you dealt with success, and I guess notoriety? I imagine, obviously, everyone you're known around the world now, but it could only be as intense, like the most intense at home. What's that experience been like for you? And how?
I think I'm in a lucky position, and I explained this to a lot of people. It wasn't an overnight. Now I'm nothing. All of a sudden, I'm a world famous. I started fighting professional at 19, and I had my first professional fight, and I became a champion in the UFC, which is a worldwide promotion. We got a lot of international guys in from all over the world to fight, and I was welterweight champion, became a double division champ. So I became known to a lot of South Africans, but slowly but surely gained popularity as the sport began to grow, and people started knowing who I was, and 1,000 went to 5,000 to 10,000 to 100,000, and where it's at now, it was gradually building. And of course, my family, my close bond with my mom, my dad, my 2 brothers, and my friends, my circle. It's having the right people around me. That's been it's been a key victory, a key to my victories, and a key to my success. And staying humble, and staying who you are, true to your values. Because I can understand how that can go to your head very quickly, and you need the right people around you to say, listen. And believe me, with my 2 older brothers and my dad and my mom, there's no confidence growing at home. I can tell you that. I'm still the one that opens the gate. I'm the youngest.
Yeah. At what point can you start beating the shit out of your brothers growing up? When does that change?
So, my oldest brother and my middle brother. So I'm the youngest. And both of them were national judo champions. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, my
judo
middle.
Yeah, I did judo in the under 8s. Got an orange belt.
My middle brother was a 4-time champion, if I'm not mistaken. My middle brother. And then my oldest brother was a national champion as well.
Okay.
And my oldest brother was the one who taught me how to fight originally, before I had any coaching.
Yeah, okay.
I had a boxing bag in the garage, and he actually showed me my first couple of kicks and moves. And then my middle brother, he always said, this fighting thing makes no sense to him. When I started fighting K1, and he said, why are you punching a guy that you're not even angry at? And anybody that knows him can understand his point of view. And I go, well, it's not about being mad. It's a competition. And he said it doesn't make sense to him.
There you go.
And he was so good at judo, and years later, and then he said, this grappling thing looks interesting. and he entered a grappling competition with me, and he did great. You can imagine. And then he did one kickboxing competition, and all of a sudden now, I mean, he's had 5 professional fights. He made his debut on the day I fought for my first professional title. He made his professional debut. Wow. So, you know, we shared that. He's not fighting at all anymore. He's a lawyer by day. And, you know, that just goes to speak of, you know, having that competition with your brothers is probably something that shaped me even, you know, well, probably the best thing that has shaped me more than any training, more than, you know, being in the gym, was growing up in that environment. And I think that's pretty special to have.
Yeah, that's sick. Tell you all you know. Now, obviously, you've got Israel coming up, UFC 305.
Yep.
How do you expect that fight to go? What do you expect Israel to bring?
Yeah, I think after Israel's last performance, everybody could see that was not the Israel that we've known as a champion, the way he performed. But it could have been Strickland. You know, I fought him as well. Sean Strickland, he's a very tricky guy. He's hard to hit. He has a sneaky jab, not a lot of power, but you know, he hits a target and it's really, really hard to
Is it
catch
like
him.
frustrating fighting Strickland? More so than, say, someone where you're like dodging haymakers?
Let me say it this way. It was frustrating because he said till death and he just walked backwards the whole time. So that was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did catch me with that jab for the first 2 rounds the whole time. And to be honest, I felt the jabs and I just thought, I'll just go through them. And it's not hurting. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't see out of my eye anymore.
Yeah.
And I realized I have to start blocking these.
Yeah.
But, you know, with Izzy, after that fight, you know, he took the break. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back. And I really, really hope that I'm seeing the best, and we all seeing the best Israel Adesanya show up on the night, because I don't want to beat that Izzy. I want to beat the best Izzy in the world.
Yeah.
And when the fight comes from me, you know, doing what I always do, just more polished. You know, I've every single time I step in the octagon, I try to be better, and I have a lot more to improve on. You know, there's a lot of improvements to be made, and going in there and making it chaos, it chaos like every single fight, going out there for, if it takes that long, 25 minutes, and just make it hell in there.
All right, we've got to wrap up here because you've got a busy schedule, but just a couple of things before we go. Robert Whittaker back looking hot as hell. What do you make of his recent couple of fights? But then also, you know, there's discussions about him fighting Strickland. Strickland's like, it's a title fight or nothing for me. How do you see that, generally speaking?
Yeah, I'm really happy with Rob. I'm a massive fan, and he's such a legend in the sport. You know, sharing the octagon with him was a massive, massive honor. And I'm just happy that people could see, because after our fight, people went, he's washed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, he's 31 years old. He's not washed.
Yeah.
He just hasn't lost to anybody other than Israel for 10 years. And I came in, I beat him. And it wasn't he didn't perform badly. He performed the way Rob does. And I was just a better fighter on that night. And I got that win. And people wrote him off just for that loss. And he came back against Apollo Costa. Apollo Costa looked amazing in that outing, but you know, he just straight out beat him. And then he goes, I honestly believe he would have beaten Kamzat if they had to face a fight. You know, it was a big question mark for me, that fight, because it had implications for me as a champion. But I was so happy because people I don't think people realize what it takes to be in the top 5 of the UFC, being top 5 best fighters in the world. And that guy, Ikram, trained with him many, many years ago. He is a good fighter. He's really a good fighter. But thinking you're a good fighter, or even a great fighter, and just walking into the UFC in the top 5, top 3, it's a whole different ball game. It takes a special human being to do that. And Robert Whittaker proved that, and I'm really happy he did, because you know, you get a lot of guys that win 3-4 fights, and they think, I'm ready to take the guys at the top. Why can't I beat that guys? And he just went out there and he proved that there's levels to this game.
Would you like Rob to fight Strickland then?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You know, it's a fight that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because Dana did say Kamzat Whittaker was a title eliminator, but that was kind of taken away from Rob.
Yes.
You know, taking away the opportunity, because they're not going to necessarily give him a title shot for beating an unranked opponent.
Yes.
And I feel that was kind of taken away from him. But, the Rob and Strickland fight will be massive.
Yeah.
And, it's a hard fight. The fact that I don't know who's going to win that fight, because, they both have some strengths and where I think Whittaker is better, but I think Strickland's better. And that's going to be that will be an interesting fight, and it will be a shame if we don't see it.
Yeah, seriously.
100%.
Well, look, thank you very much for taking the time to chat. It's been great to meet you. Congratulations on all the success. Before you go, have you noticed his beard and his hair color? And is it like just take the hat off so you can see it? Just
You see this?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Listen, I lost a bet, but people are finding me really intimidating rocking this, and I just wonder if you'd consider, before you fight Israel,
dyeing your hair
go on
completely black.
the dye, growing the beard out, and just going in there a different man. It would throw him off completely, I think, if you did that.
So, no. I ain't doing that.
No.
Just a suggestion. Listen, it's just an option.
Why are you pulling me into your bet that you lost?
No, exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, I'm trying to rally some troops here.
He's
you know
underneath
what I mean?
that pitch black hair. He's
No,
actually
it's not
a very
looking bad.
grey-
Let me tell you that. I just don't think it's going to work for me.
He's going grey very young. So it's to not know him before the dye is to not know the true harshness of the like
So,
he was.
he's actually a very wise man.
He's a wise man, but
you.
he's dyed
Thank you
phenomenally
very-
dark.
thank you very
Not in the
much.
betting sense though. He's not wise in the betting
he
sense.
seems very smart.
Anyway, mate, thanks for having the time.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers,
Appreciate
legend.
it.
All right, punters and dribblers, there you have it. Shout out to our good friend Dricus.
Best mates now.
Yeah, really good mates.
Starting to get some mates on board.
We're starting to and some tough mates.
Yeah, mate up, you know what I mean?
Because we've got mates that aren't tough. You and I, not the toughest. So it's nice to sort of just bring in a tough guy every once in a while.
Not bad. Evie's 18th on the door.
Yeah, I'll have Dricus on the door.
You got Dricus, you got fucking Volk, you've got
Bobby Nux.
Bobby Nux.
Yeah,
Islam.
you're right. Yeah.
No one's coming the fuck in there, bro.
No one's coming.
You get
near
laid
us.
out.
Yeah, we got tough guys in our. We got a throng of tough guys.
Yes.
An absolute throng of them.
Not quite a posse, but
Or
we're
a
getting there.
harem.
A harem. Is that that's like many
That might
wives?
be wives. Yeah. Anyway, UFC 305, August 18th, RAC Arena, Perth. Tickets on sale. We will be there. We don't have tickets yet, but we will be there.
We'll be there, ringside.
We've got tickets to Perth.
Everything else is booked. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Could you two just not talk anymore?